journey toward pregnancy is a relatively interesting one. I could say this, that, for the time that we've been together, so much of our lives have been spent either working or going to school. Mm-hmm. And while starting a family had always been something that we wanted to do, we had proactively decided to delay on it until we felt that, one, it was God's time, but also, two, that we could complete our studies in a fashion that would be consistent with at least being able to devote a decent amount of time to the child. And, so from that perspective, I need to say that it's been sort of a journey of which we've kind of held off on it perhaps a little bit longer than what other people have felt we should wait, but we felt that this thing came along, this great blessing, opportunities come along just in the right time. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Sylvette?
I think I would agree. I think that sounds pretty accurate. I think JR really has come at just the right time. You think about it, Ray had just December just completed his MBA, and my research was finally finished, and I was in the dissertation writing stage. Completion of the dissertation writing stage, because that could be pretty arduous. And I would say that everything fell into place just the way it was supposed to, surprisingly.
There's sort of like the societal pressure, because you see other people having their children, and even though some of them may not have been married at the same time we did, some of them were married before we were, you still wonder whether or not, okay, are we holding back way too long? We're going to be grandparents instead of parents by the time we decide to have children. But then there's sometimes the occasional questions that are raised from people, friends, people at church, people, different places that we go to. They'll be very surprised that we didn't yet have a child. And so there was sort of a tacit or sort of a indirect pressure that we get, but for the most part, we can safely say and confidently say that most people in our family, in our closest circle, understood that this is one of those things that we need to do at our own pace when we're ready, because at the end of the day, they know that they're not going to watch this child. We're going to have to be the ones that would have to take responsibility for it. And I have to say that, not to elongate the answer, but for anybody that is considering starting a family and all those things, you need to do, and even getting married, all these different dimensions of life, you need to do it at a time in which you feel as if you're ready, a time in which you feel God has opened it up for you, not necessarily when everybody else tells you when to do it.
I think people have seen me glowing, quote unquote, for the longest while. So, but I think
What do you mean by glowing?
I've been told, throughout our marriage, I think you're glowing. See a glow, that kind of stuff. Like, there's no glow, I'm just happy. That's all, So, people definitely would always encourage that, it could be time to start a family and stuff like that. But I think school was a really good buffer. I think lots of people understood that we were in school and doing all kinds of stuff. So that kind of made sense. We're both firstborns, so when our siblings after us had their first kid, I think that also was a little bit of, so you let your sister beat you to having a child, or with Ray, when Andy had Mia. But I think it was still in all fun, because when we did tell everyone that we were expecting, everybody then kind of started to say that, oh, typical Howard's always planning, and everything's falling right into place. So as usual, I take it all with lots of love, and people just always want what's best for us. So even if they thought a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 or 4 or 5 years ago would have been the best time to have a child, now when we told them that we were expecting, they felt it was just the right time. And that just shows that God's time is always the best time.
Well, what was running through my mind that day, it was actually in the place, the crucial place between night and day meeting, and that's night. I was sleeping. I was in a deep sleep, and I felt Sylvette actually come and tap me and she looked. I looked up at her, and she had that little pregnancy test, and she said, "Ray, it's positive." And I said, "Wow." And what's interesting is the fact that I had suspected that maybe something may be up over the course of the last couple weeks, because just certain things in terms of the way that she'd act. Not that she was moody or anything, but there was just some things that made me suspicious of wondering. You know what? I wonder whether or not she might be pregnant this time. I'm not sure, but I have to say it was shock but joy. I was very happy. It was a wake up call, literally a wake up call, and that I had sleep in my eyes as she tapped me in the bed there. But it was a great feeling, but shocking. I have to tell you, because I was like,
I took
wow.
the test twice. I took it once at 4-something in the morning, and I looked at it and I was like, well, maybe I did it wrong. So I didn't say anything. So those were the most anguishing 2 hours that I think I've ever had, worse than any examination, because I was like, I don't want to wake him up and say anything when, it could be a false positive or something like that. That's the researcher part of me. So I took it again at 6-something, waiting. I think it was like 6:38. I think it was 6:38 in the morning when I went. And I was like, look. But I think life changed at 6:38 that morning.